Your paper, you saw this morning, lots of questions worth more than 1 mark. It's worth more than 1, it's because there's marks for the method. And where we started with paper 2, 9 marks for a question. You can get 7 of those. 7? Certainly 6. With not a correct answer in the question. Made errors. But what you did was the correct way. You didn't have the right numbers, but you get 6 out of that 9 for the method. So, though you've done it on the calculator, you're sure what you've done is right. If you write it down, 1 wrong digit, and you can lose all 4 marks. Whereas if you show me what you did, I can probably give you 3 out of the 4. A great deal of effort goes into making your exam papers realistic. Right? This morning, the question about exchange rates, the euro. Those figures were accurate. 1.15 euros to the pound, it's about 1.17 a minute. If you send Dad, Mum, an electric bill for £25,000, you've likely made a mistake. You've probably done the classic. You've worked in pence and not changed it to pounds. But surely you ought to think about that and say, I shouldn't have an electric bill or a gas bill, or my telephone bill shouldn't be that much money. Simple error, you haven't changed it from pence to pounds. You will see questions that say explain. Particularly now, of course, with the quality of written communication. It's likely to have something in there that says explain what you've done or explain the conclusion. Remember, it must make sense to you before it will make sense to me. That sort of question. Explain why 3 lines of a triangle, like 3, 5 and 10, cannot be used to form a triangle. Probably sitting there thinking, that's obvious. But how do I explain it? Well, you could draw a picture. Draw a 10 centimetre line, and the 3 and the 5 obviously don't meet. Or you just say, if I add the 3 and the 5 together, they're not long enough to be more than the 10. That's the sort of thing you're looking for. But it's the way you write it down. You need to be able to work out prime factors, obviously, to do the next one. And I know I said it this morning, I said it deliberately. There were a number of questions on last summer's papers. I said, I haven't seen this before. We are now, the rules have changed. We must produce unique exam questions year on year. So they can't all be carbon copies of what's gone before. A question that can only be used once. So don't be put off. Everybody else is in exactly the same boat. They haven't seen it either. So it's down to you to think your way through it. Find a strategy. What am I looking at? Here's an example. Looks more like a question that belongs on an English paper. 4 words. Puts you off as soon as you look at it. Doesn't look like anything you've seen before. But actually it's a fairly straightforward maths question. But it doesn't look right. It looks a bit frightening. It isn't that hard. I mentioned it at the beginning. The calculator tends to give you more confidence for paper 2. You're now not worried about multiplying, adding, taking away, whatever. The calculator will do all that work for you. But it's only as good as the person using it. And, as I said earlier, write down the methods. It's perfectly feasible, quite a number of paper 2 questions, to do the entire thing on a calculator and arrive at the answer. For instance, the simple compound interest question. You do the formula, you've got an answer, you write it down. You hit one wrong key and you've lost the 4 marks. But perfectly feasible to do that without writing anything down at all by your answer. Coming to the end. I referred to it a few times this morning. The formula book, formula page at the front. It's there for your benefit. The issue there, though, is not what is there. What's not? Remember, you will doubtless be asked for either the circumference or the area of the circle. And the number of people that interchange those in exams you would not believe. Possibly the volume of the cylinder, though cone, some of the others are there. The trig is there, but not right angled. So you need to remember sine, cos, tan, SOHCAHTOA, or whatever else. So it's important what's there and what's not. If you use a formula incorrectly that's at the front of the book, you will get no credit at all. So if, for instance, you copy down, yes, it is the older one, Mr. Evans, it's the standard deviation is no longer there. That's the previous one. I've forgotten about that. What is it? If you use, for instance, we see it often, the quadratic formula is not copied correctly from front to back. And if you copy it down wrongly, you won't get any credit for that question at all. And though the chapter is not really sponsored by the WJC in any fashion, it's touch of the advert. The website, wjc.co.uk, of course, does have free past papers on them. So if you want some extra to what they give you in school, you are able to go on that website and download and do something. They are free and it's an easy website to navigate when you need to go into the front of maths and GCSE. Okay, there we are, folks.